Hello, you multi-magical moment makerings. I'm Ralphie. That was a malt mention, and a big malt mention thank you to Levon Haukanissian. I think I got that one right. I'm not going to try it again in case I really muck it up. 2181 to give the full title. And Levon has been the malt mention provider. And this is review 1014, which is a continuation of my review of the category winners in the online Scotch Whisky Awards 2023, which are, in my opinion, and it's a humble opinion, the most relevant whisky reference awards, simply because they are the democratic vote of the online whisky community consensus, including other whisky reviewers, but more importantly, whisky fans who choose to place their vote at the OSWA website, which is oswa.co.uk. So it's very easy to find. And the category winner in 2023 for the best Scotch whisky distillery, best distillery, has been won by Springbank. So I have an old bottle that I've been rather slow to drink because it's rather hard to find, because it's rather successful. And it's worth noting, by the way, excuse me a second, I'm going to have to be careful here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, you just want to nosy in, do you? Don't you? Nosy in. Right, so now you are obstructing. You don't like whisky. I know you don't. You're obstructing my video, matey. So I'm going to have to get the decoy here. Right, okay. Right, and you go on the wee shelf. And I'll give you treats. Right, no, there's the treats. Oh, right, can you manage it? Right, so you eat the treats and shut up. This is Big Puss. He's keeping an eye out for mice in the bothy, which can be a problem. Springbank have won the accolade in the online Scotch Whisky Awards, as voted by the online Scotch whisky community as Scotland's best distillery. They've won it in 2023, 2022 and 2021. In fact, there isn't a year where they haven't won it. It's got to the stage that Roy, my co-host, has introduced the trifecta, which means that one distillery can't win the same award year after year after decade, which is the way things are looking for Springbank. Springbank has such a reputation that it is simply the most in-demand, most desirable and most authentic single malt Scotch whisky in existence today. That's not just my opinion, but again, it's an online global consensus. And when it comes to reputations, Springbank's reputation is absolutely miles above Macallan, who would like you to believe that they're the best Scotch whisky makers. And they're not. Far from it. They used to be good. Not so much now. Springbank, unlike Macallan, who tub thump and heavily market their reputation, Springbank are noted for doing the opposite. Springbank is a very reticent distillery which doesn't want to say too much about itself, but if you pay the distillery a visit, you will see for yourself why it produces consistently such good whisky. Whether it be Springbank, Hazelburn, which is the triple distilled version, or Longrow, which is the twice distilled version, with Springbank being sort of 2.5 and a bit maybe distilled. Everything is done at the distillery. Everything. From the soaking, the steeping, the germination of the grain, to the kilning, the milling, the sparging, the fermentation, the distillation, the storage, maturation in a variety of warehouses. And up until recently, Springbank was literally unobtainable, although there was so much conversation about it. And Springbank's had the reputation of having a marketing department who spend most of their time telling people that, well, we'll try and get more whisky out to you as and when it's ready. It's a very, very enviable reputation. And there's a simple reason for this. And it's, if I was to describe Springbank's reputation in one single word, it would be inefficiency. Because this very secret to a good Scotch whisky, a single malt whisky, but also for a good grain whisky, is inefficiency of production, of lower yields, slower process, more hands-on, less technical, less automated procedures. In other words, making whisky in 2024 exactly the same way it was done in 1924, 100 years ago. It's a remarkable formula because Springbank is literally the only distillery in Scotland to do this. The only one. They bottle their whisky at 46% as a matter of course. All their malts, 46%, unchill filtered and natural colour. Whilst other whisky producers will tell you their product is unchill filtered, they're still filtering away. And the proof of the pudding is always in the tasting, because unfortunately some distillers play games with us. They are economical with the truth. They tell us half facts. They misdirect us without actually lying to us. And do you know what's as good as lying? And where it wasn't noticed in the good old days, the good old bad old days, we notice it now for one single reason: the internet. The reason Springbank has its reputation has got nothing to do with marketing hype, nothing to do with the legacy media or all the awards that the awards industry chooses to sell to the industry, to the whisky industry, either directly or indirectly or by default. The cynicism is far more obvious these days around a number of distilleries, which are increasingly bottling high-priced, disappointing whisky or decent whisky at a disappointing price. But whisky's a luxury item, it's fashionable. Its reputation comes and goes. And when time gets harder, it's just like when the tide goes out, you'll see who's swimming with trunks and who's swimming naked. Springbank will be swimming with trunks on. They're doing fine. They've got their reputation and they're holding on to it very successfully. And if you're visiting Scotland and you want to visit any distillery for the tour, Springbank is the distillery you have to visit to see everything, to see how authentically historical and real it is in an industry which unfortunately is tapping into pastiche, parody and contrived nostalgia. We didn't used to be so cynical about it, but we are more cynical these days. And it's Springbank, which has bypassed the cynicism, and they know they can't get enough bottles out to everybody because there's so much demand for it. But they've earned that. And it wasn't the marketing hype. It wasn't the awards. In fact, you will see Springbank achieve very, very few awards. Very few. Because they don't enter them. They don't pay the ticket price. But with the online Scotch Whisky Awards, no distillery needs to pay any ticket price. It's the online community, the serious whisky buyers, the people who really, really know about whisky, who decide, who judge, who rate and who rank. And good for Springbank, because my goodness, Scotland needs a distillery of this authentic, genuine reputation. When so many new distilleries are coming along and think they can make it and crack the shell, with a pair of shiny stills, a whole load of passion and some good intentions. It's not enough. Anybody can make whisky. Anybody. But see, making good whisky, that's a far greater challenge. And only talented and experienced whisky makers can do that. And to do it successfully, they must do it with their hands. Springbank do that. For the future of Scotch whisky's reputation, we need more Springbanks. We need more Scotch single malt distilleries who do absolutely everything in-house from start to finish, including bottling and thereafter distribution. I don't know if you've noticed, but despite the propaganda you get, Scotch whisky's reputation is starting to decline. The reason's simple. Irish whisky's appeared. It's a big thing now. Japanese whisky, even when it's not made in Japan. English whisky, it's doing very well, thank you very much. French whisky, German whisky, Canadian whisky, Taiwanese whisky, Indian whisky, global whisky. And here you have the Scotch whisky industry sitting on its hands, complacent and unproactive. And to make things worse, malt mates, Britain does not support its indigenous businesses. The amount of excessive taxation on whisky making, the outrageous energy costs, the sudden and dramatic rise in material costs of grain, of yeast, of bottles, of corks, of getting labels printed. It's all adding up and it's cutting and shaving the margins for distilleries down further and further. In the next few years, quite a number are going to fail, but not Springbank. And any distillery that wants to survive and thrive will need to create a reputation like Springbank. And you can't rely on marketing, you can't rely on hype, you can't rely on novelty and fancy coloured bottles and absurd packaging and non-fungible tokens and all that bullshit. That's gone. And as it goes, so do reputations. But worst of all, these distilleries that don't invest in the quality of their wood were going to be the first to fail. Springbank do invest in the quality of their wood. I don't even have to review this whisky. In fact, I'm reluctant to, because it just makes people who can't buy Springbank all the more grievous that's unobtainable to them. I want to give you some advice as I conclude this review, not of the whisky, but of the brand, of the distillery, of the provenance and the authenticity and the genuineness of a real product, which which is so important to Scotch whisky's reputation. In fact, it's absolutely vital, especially now that things are getting tight. And when you're looking for advice and when you're looking for opinion and direction, when you're buying your whisky, the best source in 2024 is going to be the collective online whisky community, because that's where the real conversation is happening, and that is where you will find the real information that you need when you're deciding what you want to spend your money on and what you want to buy. Legacy media is dead in the water. It's becoming a fossil. There's a new media, an online media. It is fresher, it is authentic, it is more genuine, and it's now coming into its golden age. And at this moment in time, the online Scotch Whisky Awards are right at the thick of it. And third-time winner of Best Distillery Scotland, Springbank, is right at the thick of it, right at the heart of it all. Cheers. Everything about a good whisky, just everything, is in the smell, the taste, and the satisfying complexity and authenticity of the experience. Everything else is hype, flannel, and distraction. I hope you'll remember that and share it with others. If you're looking for a bottle of Springbank, look at auction. That's where you'll find them. If you can't find Springbank, look out for Kilkerran. If you can't find Kilkerran, ask the online Scotch whisky community. Join in. Sign up. Participate. They will very quickly tell you what's what and what's worth buying and what's best avoided. I'm Ralphie. Thank you very much for your attention. One final thing I must mention. Patreon subscribers, I've got quite a few, settling into my Discord channel for Patreon subscribers. I am uploading my videos for early access to Discord because I cannot access Patreon at the moment because of a signing in glitch, which Patreon are trying to sort out, and hopefully they will do that sooner rather than later. Thank you, Patreon subscribers, for your patience. Normal service will be resumed shortly.